free to talk to us. That's you.
Welcome to Studio B. Checking the score with Devin, and we're live on Facebook. We're live on YouTube. Monitoring the Facebook, so if you want to jump in and be a part of the conversation, more than welcome to talk some Bison.
I see 4 of you are watching.
Fighting Hawks. Yeah.
Comment.
And those numbers are only growing. And, this is like, wow.
We doubled.
Doubling.
Wow.
Anyway. It
Anyway.
was 2, then it was 4, now it's 8.
We're not just going to watch the view. We're not Twitch streamers, Adam.
Actually, I think we are.
Okay, all right. Well, fair enough. It's your show.
Now it's going to get to 16.
Okay.
We'll see.
Oh, well, or 9.
Yeah, no, that's very exciting for us.
Comment if you were the 9th person to join.
And I'm giving people the chance right now to join us.
We'll just wait for a second.
Yeah,
We'll
give them a few
we'll
more
hold
minutes.
On. Oh, we lost the 9th.
Oh,
all right,
shoot.
never mind.
He's
This is
mad.
the strategy
We're
failed.
Too much time.
Strategy failed.
All right, let's get into it. North Dakota against North Dakota State. It's
Rivalry
obviously
weekend.
The game everyone's talking about,
Yep.
and I don't know if I expected going into the year that it was going to be it's 2 against 7?
Yes, yeah. Two top 10 teams, UND up to 7th in their most recent poll. North Dakota State holding steadily at number 2. Both teams with all the momentum in the world right now.
Yeah.
Kind of identical. Lost to an FBS team
Right.
and then went undefeated against their next few FCS teams. Had a test game. North Dakota State's was East Tennessee, and UND's ended up being Montana. And so it's been a really fun ride to get to this point. Where
That's a really good point.
There's a lot of similarities between these two teams, which I didn't think we'd be at this point just going in, just based off of how young UND looked coming into the season. They obviously matured very quickly at the quarterback position, at offensive line. We knew their defensive front would be solid, but UND has matured very quickly. And so it's cool to see where they're at right now. And of course, their monsters at running back have helped that a ton, but we'll talk about that in a little bit here. But North Dakota State and UND both getting their first Valley win under their belts heading into this rivalry matchup. NDSU with a 42-7 win over Illinois State, who was ranked 15th in the country,
Yeah.
and then UND shellacked Murray State, which for UND that was a test game to kind of see how they would handle business against a team like Murray State.
And Murray State, not to be disrespectful, but not the best team in the Valley.
Right,
very new to the Valley.
That's fair to say. They're a newer team. They're growing, of course. But
so that's a game you expect UND to come out and beat them pretty handily.
We expected that against San Diego, though, too, and that's not what happened for the first half. This was the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And we saw some bombs from Simon Romfo, too, him throwing it down the sideline to Bo Belquist. So really fun games from both sides to watch, especially if you're fans of either of those schools. If you're an Illinois State or Murray State fan, probably not fun to watch. But both teams really like establishing the run games coming into this too, which NDSU, that's their bread and butter. That's what they've won 9 national championships with. But it comes down to them finally kind of continuing to establish that, especially with Marty Brown as their A1 running back, which they've been working towards that for a while. And Coach Polasek said that they're still kind of waiting for him to really break one off, break a tackle and take it for however many yards to the house. But when you have the kind of rushing attack that they've had, very balanced, but Marty Brown kind of coming out of his shell has been very fun. Cam Miller's continuing to have a Walter Payton award-winning level year, as that was so poised in the pocket there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just admiring that. Cam's been, of course, a freak show, as he has been all year, but then look at Barica, look at what Marty Brown's been able to do, and then look at what the run defense did, which that was the biggest question mark coming into this game. Illinois State, they are dedicated to running the football inside the tackles. They're an inside zone-led team. North Dakota State had problems with that, so that was a question mark coming into this game, and they got it figured out. When I was talking to guys at the Fargodome earlier this week, I asked, do you know what led to that all of a sudden clicking? And everyone was just like, no. It just kind of worked out well that way. But no, Coach Polasek said that they kind of have their preparation more down to a science now. They know what they have to do to lock in and get the communication issues figured out. And then you get occasional big runs from Cole Payton. Felt good to see him break one off again. So so North Dakota State, obviously a heck of a time, and then we have some UND highlights in there as well. That's the third one on there. We don't have time to show all of these. They hung up 72 points on.
They ran out of fireworks. That's my favorite stat.
They did run out of fireworks. The last time this is the most points they've scored since 1928 when they beat the University of Jamestown. So
wow.
It was quite a fun scene there, and you could see that bomb to Bo Belquist. What they've really mastered is the go routes, or the stop and go routes for Bo. He'll run like a short hitch, and then he's just off to the races from there. And then, Romfo getting more comfortable, kind of launching it down the sidelines there. Romfo is an interesting case in I thought that he would be running a lot more vertically than he has been horizontally. That hasn't been the case. He's been keeping plays alive with his feet. He'll hurt you that way, but he's really just kind of mastering the keeping plays alive aspect of it. And then there are 3 running backs, each with over 250 yards this year. Isaiah Smith, Simon Seidel, and Gavin Zebarth. They've been ridiculous this year.
In the last few years, just UND's offensive line has been...
Well, that was a big question mark coming into the year because they lost 4 out of 5. The only one coming back was Seth Anderson, who's been named Valley Lineman of the Week, by the way. But then they all of a sudden, they have it figured out very quickly. And so that's been very impressive to see. That's where the running game comes from. You know what I mean? They don't make these plays happen by themselves. And so it's been both teams very productive on the ground. And UND has a very similar offense to what NDSU saw with Illinois State. UND runs a lot more motions pre-snap to kind of try to disguise what they're doing, but they're still going to try to run between the tackles. That's what they want to do. And so Romfo's comparable to Illinois State's quarterback as well, and so it's kind of feeding into the matchup here. And UND, this is now their biggest test of the season. It was Iowa State before, but now this is going to be a fun one. And then there's the whole rivalry aspect of it, which we haven't even really touched on yet, but that's kind of the biggest thing. And
for sure.
That's kind of gotten spurned on a little bit more. I always felt like, and I say this all the time, it's kind of ingrained into my brain, but I feel like this was a rivalry in the stands. Mm-hmm. The fan bases were rivals still from the D2 days, and early on. But then it was kind of dead on the football field.
Well,
they didn't play each other for so long.
Into this super program.
Right, and they just weren't at the same, and I don't mean weren't at the same level disrespectfully. I mean one was FCS and the other one was D2 for a long time.
Yeah,
and so
and it does take more time to kind of get up to.
Yeah.
But you're seeing UND get there.
Right.
They won this game last year.
Exactly.
And one thing I want to point out, just watching some of that video, is you see some of the special teams play against Murray State, and the special teams is really the big X factor. I even hesitant to use the term X factor. It may have been the factor of how they won last year up in the Alara Center.
Coach Polisek called it like a perfect example of how quickly things can avalanche out of control, because they ran back that opening kickoff and it was all gone from there. That was kind of the story of that game. UND just kept punching, and NDSU was not able to punch back last year. That environment last year, which a couple videos down,
here we go.
That's our footage from last year. One more, there you go. And that one felt more like a rivalry between these two teams than what I had seen since I moved down here. They were throwing up horns downs as they crossed the goal line on some touchdowns.
Yeah.
The crowd was so insanely into it. Here it is from Zebarth here, and it felt more like a rivalry than this has felt in a very long time. The crowd storming the field after a regular season win. It's unheard of unless it's a rivalry game. And there's a fan replica nickel trophy, by the way. They need to bring. I don't know if they can bring back the nickel itself, but they need some sort of trophy. And Coach Polisek agreed with me on that, by the way. So this isn't just me being a nostalgic fan there. But no, this felt like the biggest rivalry game between these two teams that we've seen in a while. That looks like a TJ Oshie. Oh no, it's a hockey jersey. I thought it was a TJ Oshie football jersey. That would have been crazy.
I did see the Oshie hockey jersey.
But no, someone has a pile on. Crazy environment. But
that's wild. To rip the pile on.
But no, and then the Fargodome. It's going to be the Fargodome was sold out before I even got to the Fargodome to talk to the team on Tuesday. Like the Fargodome's been sold out for this. There's still, you could get tickets through like SeatGeek or whatever, but this is going to be an environment that you don't want to miss. And we talked to both teams about this rivalry growing, and they have to kind of toe the line a little bit, say that you have to just focus on the game, yada yada. But we talked to them about what this rivalry means.
Oh, let me just bring up the volume there for you guys. I'm going to start that over.
And now it's even more important because if you look at the top of the league, when I came here in December and talked to the kids, it was important for us to win the Dakotas, period. And now it's even more important because if you look at the top of the league, the Dakotas are involved in that. And so it's a big-ass game, regardless of the year-to-year rivalry. But go tell former players that played in the D2 eras, and go tell former players that it's not a big deal. It is a big-ass deal, and I respect it. But we have to make sure we leverage preparation and not hurry up and get to Saturday without doing the proper work.
The rivalry, like now, is everything. Everywhere you go, you're getting asked about it, but you can't let it affect you as a player. As a fan, like, it's a big deal, but as a player, you can't let it affect you.
It would be pretty good for us to go in there and show people that, we're a new team. Like Coach said earlier, this is a 2024 team, and so I think it'll be good to show everybody that this is a new team, we have a new identity, and that we're not worried about all the outside noise, we're not worried about going on the road, we're not worried about stuff like that, we're just worried about playing ball.
And I think that's obviously very true. Two different teams, a lot of returning players.
Right.
But also, like, captains no longer there.
Right.
Especially
on the UND side. Yeah. Different quarterback for sure.
Yeah, no Tommy Schuster.
Right.
They got some guys who are making huge plays.
Yeah.
The whole offensive line's gone.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, 4/5. You got one.
4/5, that's true. That's true.
And the thing with UND is they also have a lot more in-state guys on the roster than NDSU does. NDSU does, of course, have plenty of in-state talent, but their recruiting tree goes a little bit wider than UND's does. And so they were born and raised in this rivalry.
It's cool seeing all the Class B represented.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at Romfo. When you talk to them about this rivalry, and I had Zach Willis, a homegrown kid, former NDSU player, on for the Bison Breakdown just because I knew that he would have a lot to say about this one. And so he's going to join us on Friday Night Live tomorrow to kind of hear about what this rivalry means to people who were born in it. And my favorite quote from him, we recorded this yesterday. Sorry to break the magic. My Bison Breakdowns aren't live. But
anyone who, they couldn't be.
I know. No, that would have been impossible.
That would be impossible.
I've talked to Jake Cavett twice. He is a coach on the Shanley sideline. My favorite quote from him that we talked about yesterday was, "You're born hating that team up north." And that's how he described the just what he was born into with this rivalry. And so for these in-state guys, it means a lot. For, like Coach Polasek mentioned, the guys that came up through these systems, it means a lot. And it's finally
look at Bubba last year.
Bubba in tears in the press conference last year because this win meant so much to them. And so it's really an exciting time. And I know I say this all the time. I'm going to regurgitate a lot of these points for Dakota Marker Week, but to see this in-state rivalry, to be here as it continues to grow back to what it was back in the day, is very fun.
And what's been amazing is just to see UND really start to, these last few years, take the program to the next level, because they weren't taken that seriously in the national scheme of things.
Right.
And now they are busting the door down and saying, hey, we're here, we're beating some of the best teams in the nation, and now you come in with the number 7 next to your name.
Yeah, and really since they got into the Valley, they've been kind of building that, and it didn't take them very long either.
No.
And so it's, selfishly, it's cool because it just means more impactful games when both teams are playing really good. And so we got a top 10 matchup in the Fargodome between in-state rivals. If you can't get excited for that, I don't know what to tell you, quite frankly. Maybe check your pulse, or just let me know if you're actually a sports fan or not.
Yeah.
But no, speaking of sports, we got more obviously, besides just football,
Yeah.
despite what you may think by watching my shows. UND hockey back in action. They're going to be playing this weekend. We were able to check out their practice at Media Day before we talked to the team, and a lot of new faces on there, but not quite as many as what we've seen for the past few years. They have a new goalie from the transfer portal out of Arizona State, TJ Semptenfelter. I just have to say that on the air so I know how to pronounce it. Some really exciting new guys, including 3 NHL draft picks, Sasha Boisvert, EJ Emery, and former USHL Player of the Year, Max Swanson, on the roster as well. So, and along, some established names, Cameron Berg, there's Louis Jamernick right there, and Jake Livanovich, for example. Those are going to be some of the bigger playmakers coming into this one. But they're starting the year a little bit differently. Normally they play Manitoba for an exhibition game. This year they're playing Augustana, who's in the CCHA, so they're playing another Division I team to open up exhibition play. And more exciting news from that front, they're starting a series with each other. They're going to be playing 2 non-conference series, the first one down in Sioux Falls in 2027. And then the next one in UND in 2028. Hockey and football, they have to schedule these non-cons so far in advance. But to get a brand new D1 opponent, and as Coach Barry talked to us, a potential new region rival, it's a really exciting time. And so Coach Barry talked about the exhibition game and the long game, I guess, long look forward series against Augustana here.
As far as us playing them non-conference down the road here in a few years, and I think that's awesome. I think it's a excellent program in the CCHA here, and it turns into like an I-20-29 rivalry at the end of the day of creating that too, and Garrett's done a really good job in his first 2 years there.
How do you think they're going to be this year?
I think they're going to be very solid. I really don't see much of a drop off from last year. I think they have the same kind of consistent scoring forces. Obviously, losing Jackson Blake is a big deal.
Yeah.
But they have plenty of guys that can kind of step in. It's not going to be relying on one person to fill that role. There's going to be a lot of guys, and they look very smooth on the ice already. The lines are looking good. They're getting the young guys involved early too, which when you have those kind of talents that can help right away, it helps a ton. And Eric Boone's going to be introducing us to those guys as the year goes on. But we're going to see right away, and yeah, thank you for pulling that up. I have it on my phone, but I like to be able to see it more. Their non-conference schedule, as usual, is brutal. After Augustana, which is a D1 opponent again in the exhibition, they then host Providence in the Hockey Hall of Fame game. Very cool to have that up at the Ralph. That's a fitting place for a U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame game.
No kidding.
Then they go to Minnesota State, which is always a tough environment. Obviously, CCHA, another one of the better conferences in college hockey. So going to Minnesota State in Mankato right off the bat, also tough. And then they're welcoming Boston, one of the best teams in the country last year in. Yeah. And then they travel to Cornell, so going to New York after that. And then they open up NCHC play against Duluth, which, the toughest conference in college hockey.
The number one ranked team in the nation.
Hosting Denver, no big deal. So, as usual, a very tough non-conference slate this year, but they thrive on that. That's one thing that they want to do because it increases your chances of getting a good seed once you get into postseason play, which I know they're obviously not looking ahead to postseason. We haven't even started the year yet. But.
Well, last year, I feel like it's easy to forget how good other conferences can be. We watch so much NCHC, but they got smacked round one against Michigan in the national tournament.
Which I will say, I did predict that looked like the toughest draw for UND having to go, because I thought they would have to go up against Michigan and then Michigan State to get out of there. And then a bunch of people told me on Twitter that I don't know what I'm talking about, and then look what happened. So I will say that was kind of vindicating, but I digress. But no, it is we get so locked into the NCHC, but of course, Boston College and Boston U were both insanely good last year. Michigan was a heck of a team. The Big Ten teams are always, you never know what you're going to get with them. But no, I think they're going to be fine. Again, losing Jackson Blake is a big deal, but at the same time, I definitely see them making a run. And this is a fun year as well because we're adding Arizona State into the mix for the NCHC, bringing it up to 9 teams there. So it's a fun conference to cover, and I know Eric Moon is very excited to get to the Ralph for as many games as he possibly can.
Well, also NCAA regionals.
Yeah.
That's just super cool.
Yeah.
That's going to be in Fargo again.
That's in Fargo again this year, and then they also scheduled it in, oh gosh, I want to say
27 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Don't
They scheduled
quote us
things.
on this one.
That one I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sorry off the top of
yeah.
my head. But
We know it's there this
it's
year.
coming. It's coming. Yeah. And of course, Shields Arena is one of the best, in my opinion, one of the best barns that you could see in junior hockey.
I couldn't agree more.
And so, giving it that kind of platform, it did really well. Do you remember? I think it was a couple years ago. All the Minnesota teams were in it.
It was so disappointing UND didn't make it. They kind of
Yeah.
had to play their way in.
Yeah.
They had a disappointing year for the program. I expect them to be there this time.
I would hope so. I
And
certainly
if
hope so.
UND's not there, I don't know what to think.
Yeah, no.
know?
Well, they'll likely get a Minnesota team in there. You can just cheer for them.
Yeah. Well,
I think that year is Minnesota State,
I
and
want to
St.
see
Cloud
Minnesota State. I want to see Minnesota. I want to see UND. Would Notre Dame? Would that be a different region?
Oh, they
you
could.
think?
They could end up in there.
Because that's Midwest.
Yeah,
You know.
they could end up in there for sure. They might go. Yeah, I think they would. It's possible.
Okay.
But
Okay.
who knows? Who knows
knows?
who's going to make it?
Yeah. It's
We're looking ahead. How many weeks here?
so far. So far. Yeah, we're literally talking about late March. It's October 3rd.
Let's talk about more current stuff. Adam.
Yeah, let's talk about tonight. All right,
Yeah.
jumping into our NFL picks. Quick shout out to Ethan Kramer. A clean 75%, 12 of 16.
Crazy.
We finally have some buys, so not as many games to get to this week. Starting rapid fire, though. Tampa Bay, Atlanta tonight, Thursday Night Football.
Atlanta.
I'm going Atlanta as well.
Shout out to Cody Malk though.
Yeah. Cody Maux. Did you see the video I sent you?
Yeah. He's
mauling people.
He's still mauling people
Yeah.
down there, so it's awesome. He's only going to get better as his career goes on. It's going to be really cool to see.
This is going to be such a fun matchup. Minnesota Vikings, the official host,
Right.
but this one's at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yep.
Set your alarms, 8:30 a.m. kickoff for us back in the States.
I will not be watching
New
the
York
first half of
Jets
that
and the Vikings visiting Tottenham Hotspur Stadium
Hotspur.
in London. Who do you got?
There's so many fun like storylines in this. You know, Minnesota going up against Aaron Rodgers again. That's so
gosh.
fun. Sam
Yeah.
Darnold revenge game against the team who
Wow,
drafted
I didn't
him.
even think about that.
So I mean,
That's
there's a
amazing.
ton of fun in this. I'm going to roll with the Vikings. I've rolled with them every week, and I'm 4-0 with them, and they're like the only team doing very well for me. So I'm going to stick with it.
Best
I'm gonna-
defense in the NFL.
Yes, that's a big deal. And Aaron Rodgers couldn't handle the Denver defense. Last
Sam
week,
Darnold,
so-
MVP candidate.
That's not even a joke anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. Carolina at Chicago. This is just such a bad game for the Panthers because they gave the Bears like
Everything.
DJ Moore.
Yes.
They essentially gave them Caleb Williams. You know, and you're looking at a situation where they're in big trouble.
And now Chicago gets to beat them. So
Yes. It's like they already ate their lunch. They continue to eat their lunch, and
Now they own
it's
it.
a tough situation. We got Baltimore at Cincinnati, and this one, I think Baltimore's good. I don't know if the Bengals are that good.
I'm going to roll with Baltimore.
I'm going with Baltimore. The New England Patriots hosting the Miami Dolphins. Dolphins no quarterback.
Are the Patriots good?
Technically, Tyler Huntley. He goes by Snoop. Patriots are not that good.
No,
Neither
but they
are
seem.
the Dolphins.
But they're fun. They're fun.
I'm going with the Patriots.
I'm also going with the Patriots just because they're at home. That's all I have for this.
Washington Commanders hosting the Cleveland Browns.
The Commanders are really fun.
Yeah, and the Browns, it's not looking good right now. They don't have a run game. They don't have a
Right.
pass game. The defense isn't as good as it was last year. Commanders.
If Cleveland, and I'm not saying this to be mean, if Cleveland had a better quarterback situation right now, one that wasn't getting flustered by every defense he saw every week, I would pick Cleveland, but I'm going for the Commanders here.
I think Jaguars get their first win against the Colts.
Wow, is Jacksonville,
I'm pretty sure. I'm going to double check
is that real?
Yeah,
Jacksonville is
they're
0-4. I didn't realize that. I'm
And
going
people
with
are
the Colts.
talking about how Trevor Lawrence might not be good.
We're kind of getting to that point,
We're
huh?
getting to that
yeah. I'm going to go with the Colts. That's it. That's all I got. I don't have any analysis for that one. Sorry. AFC South is out of my wheelhouse. Speaking of which,
Houston hosting Buffalo. Buffalo's been amazing this year. They just lost to the Ravens. I'm going with the Texans.
I'm also going with the Texans.
AFC West.
Fun.
Las Vegas Raiders. And it doesn't have the same ring to it. The Oakland Raiders.
You have always loved saying the Oakland Raiders like
yeah.
that. Vegas Raiders is fun, though. That's where
Yeah.
Raiders would live, is Las Vegas, right?
Perhaps.
There's a lot of drama going on in Vegas right now.
Yeah, Devin Adams wants out.
Well, he hurt his hamstring. Did you see that?
Oh, is it?
Right after he said he wanted
Yeah,
to trade.
hurt his ego.
But anyway, yeah, I'm going with Denver.
I'm going with Denver, too.
They seem more solid right now.
They held the Jets to 9 points last week.
Yeah.
San Francisco 49ers are going to beat the Cardinals. We agree there?
I agree, 100%.
The Green Bay Packers are going to beat the Rams. We agree there?
Yes.
Seattle?
I'm
is
picking
going
Seattle
to
over New York.
probably beat New York.
Yeah,
I'm going Seattle there.
I'll usually pick it. Wow, that afternoon slate. Hold on. I want everybody to hear what this afternoon slate is.
Go for a walk.
Vegas at Denver, Arizona at San Francisco, Green Bay at LA, and New York at Seattle. If you have any lawn work or any kind of landscaping projects that you've been putting off, or just want to start getting things ready for winter, go ahead and do that in the afternoon on Sunday, because this slate of games is stinky.
Yeah,
anyway.
it is pretty bad. Dallas is visiting the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm actually going, I don't know if this is an upset anymore. Well, shoot, they're favorites. Going into the year, you wouldn't say so, but I'm going with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm also shocked that Pittsburgh are favorites. I'm going with Dallas.
Okay, there we go. Now,
oh, man.
your team that you like to root for against
dang it.
an undefeated, very good Super Bowl champion, Kansas City Chiefs.
Chiefs.
How much are the Chiefs going to win by?
At least 2 touchdowns.
It's a 5.5 point spread.
The Saints are unfortunately frauds. And
They looked really good for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I was able to did you see when I traded Derek Carr for Garrett Wilson in our fantasy league
That's
that
a
you're
heck
not
of a
paying
deal.
attention to?
I haven't downloaded the app
I
yet, so
then
haven't seen it.
traded Garrett Wilson for Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm
Oh.
just out here wheeling and dealing.
Yeah, hey, you can have anybody on my team you want, as long as I don't have to download the app to accept it.
I hope no one on the league's watching this.
I hope you are.
Thank you, guys. Anything else? Closing comments, Devin?
Just excited for this weekend. And stay tuned. I have our Friday Night Live lineup right
Oh,
here,
here we
actually.
go.
Friday Night Live, going to be fun this week. We're doing a pretty even mix of North Dakota and Minnesota. We're going to have the Sartell Sabres being hosted by the Moorhead Spuds. Moorhead having a crazy year this year. And then also in Minnesota, Eric Moon is going to be at DGF against Detroit Lakes. Always frisky, always fun. On his way back, he's going to be getting Polk County West against Lake Park Audubon. I'm going to then pop over across the river to Davies at Fargo North.
I love how much like inside baseball people are getting.
Exactly,
right now, 'cause
exactly. You're welcome.
People, when I was shooting games, people would always say, "Where are you going?"
Yep, they would always
to the
ask.
other games I have to be
Yes,
at. You
exactly.
don't understand. We have to be at multiple places at once.
Now the question for me is how many games you got tonight? I only gave myself 2 this time. But yeah, no, I'm hitting Davies at Fargo North after that, and then our third shooter, who will remain nameless unless I want it. Should I give Bobby all the credit?
Give him all the credit.
Bobby is going to be shooting Wahpeton at Horace. Very fun game. Both teams on
How's
a 3.
Horace looking this year?
Horace looking good. Both they have 1 loss. Both teams are on a 3-game winning streak.
Wow,
so
okay.
that's a sneaky fun game.
That's gonna be a good one.
Very exciting matchups on Friday Night Live. Be sure to tune in.
Thank you all for tuning in on Valley News Now. This has been Checking the Score with Adam and Devin, and we'll see you next